opportunity to head out west this week as the Boilermakers travel to the University of Washington, the Pacific Northwest, to take on the Washington Huskies for 3 games. I'm Kyle Charters with SID Ben Turner and the head baseball coach of the Boilermakers, Greg Goff, on This Week in Purdue Baseball, presented by Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex. Coach, after a rough weekend against a very good UCLA team, great thing about baseball is you get another chance, the midweek game this week, and then back on the road. I think that'll be good for you to get into a little bit different environment after this long stretch of games at home and take on another good team in the Washington Huskies.
We do, and again, Kyle, we talk about it all the time. Early on, when you go 4-0 in a week, you got a bit of start back on Monday, 0-0. Same deal as this. We go 1-3, I think, last week. And we got to start back over 0-0. Baseball is a long game. It's a long season, and you got a bit to handle the ups and downs. And I think the biggest thing for me this week has been to preach consistency, get back to the process of what we do and how we do it. We worked out yesterday, had a great workout, and excited about what's in front of us. You don't control what's behind you, and I think the longer we can do that, the better we're going to be.
And your team has shown a lot of resiliency in various different ways this season. I think that'll be a key for this week as well. You look at the UCLA series, and the Bruins take all 3 games. But, man, a play or two here or there, the wind blows gusts a little bit differently
right.
A time or two on Friday or Saturday, and maybe things turn out a little bit differently for you. But it is what it is, I suppose, and now you just have to sort of take what you've learned from that series and move on.
You do. You got to learn from it. There were some things in that game, like you said. There was a couple of pitches I think if we had back, we would take back. There was a couple at bats that I thought that, if we could take back. But there's a lot of, positive as well. I thought our guys were resilient behind probably the best pitching staff in the league.
Yeah.
If you look at their first 20-something games, they only gave up 10 hits, I think 3 games out of the 24 games, I think. And we had 10 hits or more in all 3 games against us. So there was a lot of things that you got to take away from and learn from it, but also understand, each week our job is to get better and progress through it. And so our eyes are on Northern Illinois this week and then Washington for the weekend.
To go until the last weekend of March without losing consecutive games speaks to how well you played over the first 6 weeks of the season. So that's a good part of it right there. And coming back from deficits on Saturday, you could have packed that one in pretty quickly on Saturday.
Right.
Down 5-0, 7-5, 12-7, 13-9, and yet there in the bottom of the ninth, there's the tying run in scoring position.
No doubt.
So gotta love that fight and that heart.
And that's what I told our guys this week. This weekend when we were going into Saturday, it was like, hey, we hadn't lost 2 games in a row all year. Like let's make sure we show up and do a good job with it. And they were. I thought those guys were resilient. They could have easily. I mean, you're talking about some arms that are going to pitch in the big leagues with UCLA. I mean, those guys, were 92 to 95 and were really good and could throw their off speed for strikes. And so for us to have an opportunity to face that and get better. And be in that situation and have a chance to have the tying run on second base there is pretty awesome. So we just got to get better. We got to get better and we got to learn from it. But again, I think that's a great point of where we are, and hopefully we start in April. It's a new month, so I told them April is going to be great for us.
You mentioned 10 hits and at least 10 hits in all 3 games by the whole lineup. Well done. You also had one guy with 10 hits for the weekend. Yeah. And I can't remember ever seeing anybody do that, much less against a staff as good as UCLA.
Right.
Lucas Cook, 10 for 14, 10 singles.
Yeah.
Base hit approach. I mean, take what they give you.
That's right.
Keep the line moving.
That's right.
Amazing. For him to do that against UCLA, it's one thing if he does it early in the season against Akron or whoever.
Right.
But, man, that's about as impressive as weekend we've seen from a hitter.
He has, and again, he's comfortable with who he is. He's bought into hitting. And you watch him. He uses the whole field. They'll throw breaking balls early in the count. He'll stay behind those things and take his singles to the backside of the field. As 2 years ago, he'd try to hit that ball 400 feet and pop it up. So he's really, I thought, really progressed into a really good hitter. I think Coach Serrato and Coach Loveladies did a great job with him, and just a lot of great things from him, and just doing a great job for us as well at short.
Some of the numbers are crazy for Lucas Cook this year. He's hitting .325. I think Ben and I looked it up. On 2 strike counts, which is just
crazy,
incredible. His batting average on balls in play is above 500.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been really good at just finding ways, as you said, to put the ball in play.
No doubt.
and see if he can get on base. Another guy who has done it in a little bit of a different way, though similar as well, showing a little bit more power along with the average, is Logan Sutter. He's now homered in 7 consecutive weekends, first Boilermaker to do so this century, already to 40 RBI, the fastest Boilermaker to do that. Again, just another good weekend, and man, what a threat to have in the middle of your lineup.
No doubt. One of the best things about Logan this weekend was the play he made on the fly ball. The wind was blowing crazy, and so, have our catcher and our pitcher going in for the ball, and he comes in and elevates. Looks like Coach Painter's guys over there. And elevates above those two guys, because if he doesn't elevate, they have a crash and probably don't catch the ball. He elevates above both of those guys and makes a great catch. And so, he is becoming a really good player for us. But, I can't say enough about his offense and what he brings as far as the presence in the middle of the order. You just want guys on base when he gets up,
Your offense proved that it can play with anyone in the country this weekend, I think. And part of that was the two guys at the bottom of your order, Brandon Rogers, who we'll talk to in our player feature today, and Ty Gill as well. Those guys at 8-9 in the lineup were really, really solid, provided that depth to the lineup, and really, I think, was one of the reasons why your offense was so good against the Bruins this weekend.
It was. They were able to flip the lineup. It was amazing to see both of those guys have really good weekends against good arms. And, again, they didn't really do – they just simplified, I think, their swings and their approach. Both of those guys were using middle to the backside of the field. And so when you do that, you got a chance, and I think they worked really hard and really – awesome to see, especially when you get the bottom of the order going like that. It kicks it back up to the top and really turns that thing over for us and has us a chance. That's why we scored as many runs as we did against them.
Baseball's a wonderful game, a lot of unique things over the course of a season. Never seen a team turn 4 inning double plays in the first inning of a game like that. Yeah, first 4 innings. UCLA did that this weekend. 8 ground ball double plays turned by the Bruins over the course of the series. Is that something to look closer at, or is that just a tip your cap to their pitching staff and infield?
Well, I looked at a lot of things, to be honest with you. And that was one of the things in our coaches' meeting yesterday we talked about was, I wanted to know what pitches we were hitting into double plays, and it was both. It was some fastballs and breaking balls. We rode over some breaking balls instead of trying to use the middle of the field. We rode over some balls to third and started some double plays. And then we also, they did a good job of throwing some good two-seamers down and got below our barrels. And so we got to do a good job. And we talked about that this week and just trying to help our guys understand, especially when we got guys in scoring position. Like you got to kind of what we talk about, raise the floor of the strike zone and kind of give that pitcher that bottom half early on. Now with 2 strikes, you got to adjust and do whatever. But less than 2, you got to raise the floor of the strike zone. You got to have a little bit better approach, and you got to try to hit the balls into the gaps and get them over the infielders' heads for sure.
Yeah, well, that's some good analysis there of the intricacies of hitting that a lot of us take for granted that you guys go in depth on.
Yeah.
Obviously, a tough weekend in many ways for the pitching staff, but Austin Klug, Nick Colsey, thought they were kind of bright spots.
Yep.
And even CVA on Sunday, he kept them in the ballpark. Gave up too many hits, but they were all singles.
Right.
So there was some bright spots there.
There was, and I think, again, one weekend you can't allow it to dictate who you are and what you do. It's why it's 56 games, and going into the series, I felt, when we had our guys out there, I felt really good about, the pitch execution has to get better. Watching Cole's game, I told him this yesterday, was, the pitch location wasn't exactly where we needed it to. And so, he's a guy that's going to take that and run with it and get better at it. So we need him. We need all those guys, to be honest with you. So, hopefully, with Easton and him coming out of the game, hopefully we'll get him back and going as well. So we got the parts. We just got to find the pieces and put the puzzle together and kind of build on some of those guys that, like Colsey and Klug and some of those guys. Just kind of get those guys back healthy as they come through.
Long road trip this weekend as we head out to Seattle to take on Washington. We'll play some late games, too, in the evenings out there.
Yep.
Pretty close to the middle of the night back here with the first pitch times at 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. From a preparation point of view, how do you handle that? Playing that late. I mean, you don't want guys just laying around the hotel all day. You've got plans to keep those guys active, but also rested and ready for the games.
Yeah, we normally we'll have a study hall. Miss Haley will go with us, and we'll have a study hall. We'll get them up, eat breakfast, have a study hall, and then we'll take them over and we'll lift on Friday. Get them out of the hotel for a little bit and take them back and let them rest and then be ready for the game. Saturday we'll go over and hit before the game and stuff, just in the cage, just kind of do just some early stuff,
Yeah.
and then be ready for Sunday. Because then Sunday is the complete opposite. It's I think 11 o'clock start out there. So I think the players will be fine. The old Coach Goff here, he likes to start pecking that corn around 9 o'clock or so. So it's going to be. I'll have to definitely drink some Dr. Peppers and be ready for those late nights out there on the West Coast.
Is it encouraging to you how the guys played at Minnesota a couple weeks ago, where it was similar in some ways, where we didn't get to see the facility till we got there on Friday?
Right.
It was night games Friday and Saturday. In some ways, there's
a lot of similarities.
Yeah,
Ben. It really is. And our guys do a great job. And to be honest with you, I love playing at home. But we've been here for 3 weeks, and a lot of times you think at home we don't have as much control because we're not in the hotels and all those things. There's a lot of distraction, I think, sometimes at home. And so when you go on the road, you got 32 guys, and you got your coaching staff and your strength coach and everybody like that. And I think we just stay together a lot more and stuff like that. So we'll see. We've been good on the road so far. Washington's really good. I kind of took a little bit of a sneak preview last night. Watching them, and their Friday night guys as good as anybody in the league. So we'll definitely focus today on NIU, but then get ready to go for this weekend against a really good Washington Husky club.
Yeah, we've got a number of weeks left of the Big Ten season, man. As you look at the standings now, there's not going to be, when we get to the end of this thing, there's going to be, 2 games separating the 5th place team from the 14th place team, it seems like. I mean, it's wild. It makes every one of these games hugely important because there's not going to be a lot of separation.
There's not
between 5 and 13 or 14.
It's going to come down to the last pitch on the last day.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell our guys, we just got to control what we can control. Continue to move forward, continue to improve, continue to show up with a lot of passion and intensity, and stay together as one.
Sounds good. Let's make it a good trip.
All right.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll bring in Brandon Rogers. We'll do that coming up next on This Week in Purdue Baseball, presented by Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex.
Play championship golf at the Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex. Enjoy great food and great drinks at the new Pete Dye Clubhouse, and shop official Purdue gear at the Purdue Pro Shop. Experience it all now at PurdueGolf.com.
Well, Brandon, certainly it's been a great homestand for you. I mean, you look at the numbers: 440 at home, 9 runs driven in, 8 steals. It's hard to count up the number of great plays that you've made playing center field. You can certainly range a long way out there. It seems like you've been playing with a lot of confidence since you got back into the lineup.
Absolutely. That's been the key to it all, right? Not necessarily playing at the beginning doesn't mean like, oh, I'm away from the team. It just means that you got to work a little bit harder, right?
Yeah.
You have to be confident when you're put in that situation. And when put in that situation, I just made sure I made the most of it. And I just kept it all short and simple and just making sure that, like, hey, it's not about you. Make it about the team. Do what's needed. Put the bunt down if it's needed. Take care of a hit and run or anything like that. Make the plays when they're needed. Because a lot of times, if you think back to most of those catches that were made, it wasn't just to be all flashy and everything like that. It saved a couple games, man.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, just making sure we're taking care of those little things.
That's certainly the right attitude to have. I would imagine when you play on opening day and then you have to sit for a while, that can be mentally taxing. So did it take you a couple of days to sort of refocus on those things that eventually got you back into the lineup?
It didn't. I've been through that struggle before, and I told myself, like, God is always watching, and I have conversations with Him all the time, and I talk to my parents just to get clarification of like, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you stay focused, and just completely have a changed mindset. Keep it focused and keep it direct. And when the opening day came, you wouldn't necessarily expect like, oh, I'm going to play, but you just have to tell yourself, like, I'm going to play today. I'm going to do this today. And when you speak those things into existence, things happen for you. And it's all about having the right mindset. And, mentally you have to be prepared for it, especially in baseball. It's like life.
Yeah.
Just having yourself ready for whatever situation or whatever is thrown at you. So.
We've seen you get a lot of big hits, make a lot of big plays in center field over the last 3 weeks. What do you consider more fun, getting a big hit or making a diving catch like you've done?
Man, I would say both. Obviously, I would say both, but it's one thing about hitting because, everybody looks at the hitting and, just coming up in big moments and being able to control, what's being thrown at you because it's 9-on-1. You know what I mean? And how can I place this ball in a hole to where, like, I can get it down? and things like that. And I've been doing the outfield for so long, and I feel that I'm the best there. But that's just a personal, goal and thing that I have for myself. But hitting is just a plus for me. So I would say hitting. Absolutely.
Just after 3 weeks, I would say you're on the short list of the best we've seen out there in center field.
Thank you.
Have you ever played in an outfield as big as Alexander, specifically center field at 408?
I will be completely honest with you. Last year at Arizona, it was a huge field.
Gotcha.
Now, it was a lot bigger in left field. It was that was more so like the center field for that part, but I've been at some pretty big stadiums. Yes.
Is there any fly balls that you feel like you're not going to get to, or when it's hit, you feel like you're going to get to everyone?
I feel like I'm going to get to everyone. The mindset that I have when playing an outfield is, just stay vicious, stay ready.
Yeah.
And I'm always on the move. I'm always moving around because I'm just ready to make that next big play. It doesn't matter what the situation is. I'm just always ready.
You've made a couple of really good catches coming in. Do you like playing a little bit deeper and feeling like your speed will allow you to come in, or does it just depend on the scouting report?
It depends on the scouting report. A lot of times you have to listen to the coaches. That's the main thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times off experience, I might move myself up because I'm very well at going backwards. Mm-hmm. So played a little DB receiver, so I kind of know how to track things down a little bit. But for me, I'm very, very neutral with both ways. Yeah. But I try to take away those little bloop hits and things like that. But those longer balls that I have to run for, I'm prepared to take that flight. So
yeah.
Your road to Purdue from Chicago, Mount Carmel High School, then the year at Iowa Western College, junior college All-American there, Pac-12 champion at Arizona last year, and now back here in the Midwest. Lots of different experiences along the way. What kind of brought you back to the Midwest?
What kind of brought me back? I wouldn't say it necessarily brought me back. It was just the opportunity that was on the table, and I just ran with it. And Purdue is a blessing, man. And I'm so happy that I got in contact with Coach Goff and just the person he is, and I just had belief in him. And I'm like, I need someone that can trust me as an individual on and off the field. And it's been a rocky road, but there's nothing wrong with going to a couple different institutes and things like that, and just understanding that, like, hey, take something from each and make it the best at where your feet are. And so it hasn't been a crazy journey, but it's been a humbling journey. I will say that.
Mount Carmel is in the I want to say the Catholic League, but I'm drawing a blank on the name of that league in Chicagoland.
It's the Catholic
League. Okay, got
yes,
it.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, you've got two teammates now in Cole Van Assen and Amir Gray that were at Brother Rice. I assume Mount Carmel Brother Rice was quite the rivalry. You remember facing those two?
I absolutely do. Big time rivalry. Was actually at Brother Rice. My first 2 years of high school, left those guys, went to Mount Carmel, just made a business decision for myself, felt it was the best opportunity for myself. And I love those guys, and there's no beef or anything like that. That would never be the case. We look past everything, and now we're teammates, and that's all that matters,
You mentioned the big outfield in Tucson, and we felt like this would be a good week to have you on based on your play on the field. Also, because you've been to Seattle and Husky Ballpark, you're the only one that, by my count, that has. What were your takeaways from where we're going this weekend?
My takeaways, we're right there by the water, so the ball doesn't necessarily fly as much as you want it to. Okay. So everything is more so, on the line. We're looking for line drives, 6 feet past the dirt, and just looking to play the small game. The big flies that come, and that's what I always tell myself. Like, hey, we're not trying to go up there to hit home runs. We're just trying to find ourselves on base so we can score runs. And I will say that it's a beautiful part. It's a beautiful part. During that time, I didn't necessarily play, but taking the reps in the outfield and getting myself prepared for that game just let me know, like, hey, this is a nice part to play at. So, yes.
You and Ty Gill have been a good combination in the 8-9 spots in the order because you're getting on base, especially this last weekend against UCLA. You were able to steal some bases as well. Do you two sort of take pride in that and the ability to get on base, steal some bases, get into scoring position for those guys to be able to come back around the top of the order and drive you in?
Absolutely. One thing that we always tell each other before we go up to bat, because it's like deja vu. I'm always leading off at whatever point of the game that it is, and he had just come up to me like, hey, B-Raj, hey, let's start it off for the boys again. Let's get it back going. Let's get it back going. And I'm like, hey, you know what's up. You know, just that guy talk, you know, just getting ourselves prepared for that bat, just knowing that we can get this thing back on the road. And so it's been very, very consistent, and I just want it to stay that way.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just have to keep that same mindset and just keep doing what we're doing.
You don't face many of your teammates, certainly this time of year, but in the fall, who were some of the pitchers that you most feared having to face of your own teammates?
Well, I will say this: I never fear. But but one thing I will definitely say, Avery Cook.
Yeah.
Avery Cook. Just the sidearm action is just more so, you know, wouldn't say challenging, but it was just like, man,
It's a different look.
It's a very good look, but it also prepared me to just stay a little bit more relaxed up at bat and like, hey, it's going to be a lot of spin. It's going to come into you. So just be ready to, you know, take them backside, or like if it's in on you, like what is it that I need to adjust to? And I will say Avery Cook was one of the more challenging guys to.
You told us about Husky Ballpark. You also went to Utah, USC, Cal. This Giants spring training stadium, Scottsdale, was where the Pac-12 tournament was.
Yes.
What did you kind of take away from that final year of Pac-12 baseball? West Coast style is thought to be quite different than what we play in the South and the Midwest.
Absolutely.
How did you kind of feel like, was that accurate? A lot of big parks out there, like you said, and in some ways it's just a little different style.
Yes, completely different style, completely different ball game. The way they play the game, you might think that, oh, we're trying to be the big fly, but it's everything. You know, they look forward to, hey, we're going to hit the long ball, we're going to put the bunts down and everything like that. The parks were amazing. The experience was amazing. And I will never shame anything about, like, you know, what happened or anything like that. That was an overall great experience. And I completely enjoyed it. And it's not taken away from the Midwest or anything. It's great baseball here. You know what I mean? And just seeing that aspect and like what it's like to play in the West Coast, and like just like, man, like it just opens your eyes a lot more. Like there's a lot more to baseball than you think.
Yeah, it's a wonderful game, and you know, across the world too. Japan, the Caribbean, Venezuela, different parts of America, where the way it's played differently in different places makes it a great part of it.
Yes.
We like to give you a chance to give some shout outs for teammates. You know, we've talked about Ty Gill in that combination. Who else is maybe flying below the radar a little bit or deserves some love on This Week in Purdue Baseball?
I feel, and I'm not necessarily individualized about like who specifically. I believe that everybody is focused. I believe that everybody's going to do something for us. I feel that, you know, that it's not just about like one guy or like, oh, he's going to turn the tables or anything like that. I never made it about myself. I can be doing well right now, but at the same time, sometimes you have to understand failure is within this game. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's about how you take it upon yourself, or like, you know, your teammates are like, hey, I need help. Let me help you if you can, you know, do that for me. And it's just more so playing for each other. And, you know, I just feel that everybody that's on our roster and everybody that's able to play for us and or for Purdue baseball will be ready for whatever situation and whatever it is to come.
All right, we'd like to learn more about you in the personal preferences segment. There are no wrong answers, as I like to say, but we do have you pick a number between 1 and 14 this week.
All right, I'm going to go with 8.
8. All right, favorite superhero or sci-fi series?
Oh, my favorite superhero is Superman. I think on one of the recent posts of one of my catches, they said took flight like Superman or something like that. And I think that's a great analogy. I just really, really enjoy Superman. You know, the Man of Steel. I just feel that he's unbreakable, if that makes sense.
It'll be a big summer for you, right? The new Superman movie comes out
nice.
later this summer. So
Get that man a cape, I guess. The little superhero icon emoji. All right, between 1 and 14, don't pick 8.
Okay, let's go 4.
Okay, picking your own number. All right, we talked about collegiate stadiums. Favorite professional stadium, whether you've played there or just been there?
Ooh, that's a great question. I've been to a couple ballparks that I will say I really enjoyed. I really did like the Atlanta Braves park. It was just something about like the atmosphere outside of the stadium, like the seats and like the areas for activities and things like that. I really enjoyed that experience. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, all parks are great. You know, I really haven't been to many baseball games because of school and things like that. But I will say the one stadium I did enjoy going to was the Atlanta Braves. Yeah. Yes.
All right, last one between 1 and 14. Don't pick 4. Don't pick 8.
Okay, let's go 9.
9. Favorite month of the year?
Favorite month of the year, obviously my birth year, December
There you go.
It's just something about like being in the cold and being able to, play in the snow. I'm such a kid at heart, and I just really enjoy that month. And yes, we love the summer and everything like that, but it's just something about whenever I see the snowfall and I'm able to be inside, connect with the family, because that's the time that you're able to connect with the family. It's all about family. And just, being with your loved ones because of temperatures, being freezing and things like that. So it's very adventurous, I will say that.
Great answer for sure.
Yes.
You guys traveled to Washington, obviously, this weekend, needing to get back on it. Your team's been very, very resilient this year, I think, and coming back from losses. So you'll have to respond to the midweek game and then going up to play in the Huskies. What do you guys need to do to pick up some victories?
Just continue to control what's able to be controlled. And, as a team, as one, what we always stress is be better than what we were the next day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And just continue to progress, continue to learn, continue to be, better teammates, continue to be better people, whether it's on or off the field. And like I was saying, like sometimes you need to go through some things just to get to the success that you need and want. And failure it's not always bad. Yeah. Sometimes you need failure in your life. You know what I mean? Sometimes it'll direct you in the path that is needed for yourself. And for the team, I feel that this is a great opportunity for us for NIU to come in this weekend to get ourselves back on that winning side, because I know for sure this will be a great weekend.
Yeah. Sounds good. Should be a great weekend. Will be a great trip, and we're looking forward to seeing you out there.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, that'll do it for this week on the podcast. Back, of course, after that trip next week. For Greg Goff, Brandon Rogers, Ben Turner, and our producer, Corey Palm, I'm Kyle Charters. Thanks for watching This Week in Purdue Baseball.